Welcome back to Warpstar Games. You are dealing with a very sleep-deprived me as I'm resetting my sleep schedule. This is a new series called cEDucation. 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 cEDucation? cEDucation? cEDucation. Anyways, it's on the screen. So these are going to be shorter videos where I'll be going over the basics of a particular cEDH commander and what you might run into based off of what I see on their EDH top 16, as well as discussing it with players of that deck. This is ultimately to help promote a better understanding of the metagame in our format, as it is pretty much impossible to ever get ample experience against every single commander you could ever face, as there's so many goddamn legendary creatures in Magic the Gathering. So let these short installments of this video series be a guiding light for you in your journey to become a better cEDH player. Obviously, the quality of these will improve over time as I practice my craft, so please let me know below the ways I could improve or ideas you may have that would benefit the series. Now, let's talk about this tax-evading Jagoff. Today's video is going to be a bit of a hit piece on this Jagoff that I hate, Heliod. Now, you might ask why I hate Heliod. Well, it's a deck that insists upon itself. It's a deck that avoids the common constraints of our format, like monitoring the table, politics, or paying taxes when you can. In fact, the deck even loves when somebody else has taxes to be paid because they're not going to pay them. They will gladly give you the card draw for reasons we'll explain later. But let's talk about Heliod. He is a 5/5 enchantment creature god for 4 mana that puts a non-god enchantment from the graveyard into your hand on ETB. Additionally, he has a sorcery speed transform ability for 3 generic and 1 Phyrexian blue that flips him into this powerhouse. The stats are not your concern. All of your spells now have flash, meaning they can be cast at instant speed at any time. And all of your spells cost 1 generic mana less for each card your opponents have drawn this turn. I'm sure your head might be already spinning with the possibilities of reading this. So let's talk about how the deck operates. I've scanned several of the top performing decks from EDH top 16 to get a general idea of what Heliod does seek to do as a deck. From what I've seen, there are 2 general camps with the deck's direction. Some folks lean more towards the Heliod package, utilizing cards that force all players to draw cards, like Temple Bell or Vision Skeins. This direction of the deck seeks to flip Heliod as soon as possible and utilize that juicy mana discount to draw more cards, play every mana rock in the deck for free, and present some type of combo to loop and win the game. However, the other camp of the deck seems to utilize a more stacksy package. No doubt in part because of the deck being purely Azorius, white and blue, there's a lot of stacks pieces in there you could utilize. They'll slow down the game with cards like Thalia or Clarion Conqueror while utilizing early value engines like Rhystic Study, Smothering Tide, Mystic Remora, or Tataru Taru. And then they'll later transition that extra momentum they've gained through slowing the game down into a mid-game powerhouse once they get Heliod flipped. The deck actually has a grindy game plan that encourages your opponents to draw cards, which is pretty much the antithesis of what any deck in the format will seek to do, but this deck loves it when opponents draw cards. While you're drawing cards, they're accruing treasures, getting their own extra cards, and ultimately discounting every spell they'll ever play and playing them on your turn thanks to Heliod. It's a deck that will operate in the shadows until it's time to present the win on the table out of nowhere. So let's review some of those combos the deck most often utilizes. Heliod discount on 6. Lay Coveted Jewel, draw 3 cards on ETB and float the mana afterwards. Now you can cast Capsize with the buyback cost for 2 blue total. Net 1 mana as you continue to draw through your entire deck, playing that Coveted Jewel again for free, generating the mana and drawing the cards. And you'll continue this loop until you found your Blind Obedience and Chromatic Orrery. You'll play them both. Now you can just infinitely play Chromatic Orrery, tap it to float all the mana, and capsize it back to your hand, as it's still on the board when you capsize it, meaning you can use that colorless mana it generates to pay for that blue mana in capsize. You can also use that colorless mana to pay for the extort from Blind Obedience to drain all your opponents for 1 life and ping them to death. The whole combo also works with Draftnet Founder of Latinum instead of capsize, right? It's the same difference. You just use 2 mana to put the jewel back in your hand, and it makes 3 mana when it enters, and it costs nothing, so you make infinite mana. There's also simpler combos the deck has access access to thanks to being an Azorius, like Displacer Kitten and 3 Fairy plus a mana positive rock. First, just get Kitten and 3 Fairy on the board. This happens to be a lot easier with your commander making Teferi cost only a white and a blue and making Kitten cost 1 blue. Plus, all your rocks are free. So you just cast the rock, you flick your Teferi with the Kitten trigger, uses -3 to bounce the rock back to your hand and draw a card, and repeat as many times as needed until your deck is in your hand and you've extorted everyone to death yet again. I've even seen some lists that run Aetherflux Reservoir as their finisher instead of Blind Obedience. Just keep casting stuff until you've gotten 30 billion life and ping everybody down. There's also more unique loops with cards like Time Twister or Day's Undoing, where the Heliod will repeatedly loop their own library to produce infinite Heliod discounts and have access to all their interaction in the world forever, as well as never decking themselves out. The way the deck wins their games is typically a simple outlet, 1 or 2 spells. But the finesse of the deck is how they get to that outlet in the first place. The deck unironically likes Rhystic Studies at the table and Esper Sentinels, as well as Mystic Remoras. The Heliod players will gladly cast spells and not pay their taxes so that they can get their discount higher, faster. The strength of Heliod as a deck is its ability to turn any moment into a win attempt because of the flash speed on all their spells and scaling discounts. You've seen it, we're in mid-range hell in a lot of the local metas you'll be playing in. People will have Mystic Remora, Rhystic Study, Esper Sentinel, they'll be drawing cards back and forth, and then while they're having a big wizard duel, all of a sudden the Heliod player who's been sitting in the shadows will just present a win on top of the stack out of nowhere because they have flash speed and all their spells cost nothing now. I myself made this video because I got eliminated from a tournament in Swiss a couple months ago by a flip Heliod who inspired this video. I told my other 2 opponents who had revealed to me they had interaction that they needed to use it here while Heliod was trying to flip his commander. They said he, quote, did not look threatening and that they, quote, wanted to see what happens. Well, you can take a guess what happened. That very same turn cycle that he flipped Heliod, he ended up winning the game. People were drawing cards off a Rhystic Study, drawing cards off an Esper Sentinel, and suddenly he just presents a win on top of the stack. That experience of being so frustrated because they wouldn't listen to me and understand how powerful the deck could be is why I made this video. I never want someone to tell me, let's see what happens with a flip Heliod ever again. The interaction points for Heliod depend on the board state of your table, but generally speaking, the deck immediately becomes a threat if they flip their commander. It's not to say they can't win through other means like the aforementioned 3 Fairy Kitten line, right? But these lines are much slower than the normal goals the deck seeks to achieve. The pinnacle of the deck's power revolves around getting Heliod on the board and flipping him into his better half. They don't even care about the front half. Hell, they'll fail to find most of the time. They just play him to get him on the board so they can flip him later. If you can stop them from playing Heliod in the first place, they'll probably just lose the game. Or if you can stop them in response to the ability going on the stack by stifling it or just exiling Heliod, you can probably stop them from playing the game at all. Know the signs, keep yourselves aware, and don't let a Heliod player trick you. There is no such thing as a value Heliod. The moment he flips, they will never play the game on their own turn ever again. They'll even promise you that they're not going to win on their turn. Don't worry about it, because they're honestly not going to win on their turn. They're going to win on your turn, or your 3rd opponent's turn, or your 4th opponent's turn. Heliod is a respectable deck that, while has fallen to the wayside quite a bit post the massive bannings of 2025, is still a deck that operates in the shadows, and you can make the argument, I would be willing to make the argument, that it's even better now because it operates in the shadows. There's so few people playing it that when you run into one, and they've been playing it for a long time, they're a master of the manipulation. They're really good at operating in the shadows and coming out on top when you least expect it. But with this quick little video, I'm hoping you'll be able to see the signs and know what's coming for you so that you can go into your next pod and come out on top. But anyways, I haven't slept in a day and a half, so this is the best I got. Nobody's on the Patreon yet, but hey, if you want to support the show, check out the Patreon. I'll be putting a ton of stuff on there, including write-ups, opinion pieces, and tons of other stuff soon. I'm working on it, I promise. Subscribe for more, and let me know what you'd like to see next. Let me know how I can improve the series or the whole channel as a whole in the comments below, and I gotta take a nap.